I think that Danny Boyle's made the most British commercial film in the past 25 years.
Don't look at what's in front of you. Boo, 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 boo.
Drive-by movies, you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name's Blaise.
And I'm James.
And this week, we're talking 28 years later.
This is a glorious day. A day of judgment. My children!
There's no discharge in the war.
28 Years Later is the long-awaited sequel that is the start of a new trilogy. This movie follows a group of survivors of the rage virus that live on a small island. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but other survivors. So this is a movie that has been pretty divisive amongst audience members, got great reviews, but getting low audience reaction reviews, bad cinema scores. But this is a movie I was highly hyped for, and Danny Boyle at one point was one of my favorite directors, but it's been a while since I've seen anything by him that I actually truly enjoyed. I guess the last movie I truly enjoyed by him was Slumdog Millionaire. Not that all his other movies past that were bad, it's just weren't for me. Is this a return to form? Well, let's hear Blaise's thoughts first.
So, you hyped that up a lot, but I have to say I agree with you there. Danny Boyle had his moment. He came off 28 Days Later with Sunshine, and Sunshine's getting a resurgence piggyback off this movie. It feels like I hear a lot of people talking about that movie lately on the internet. But also, like you said, Slumdog Millionaire, it's an Oscar winner. So, is Danny Boyle still have it? Honestly, I thought he kind of lost it until this movie, and then I was like, this movie caught me by surprise. I wasn't anticipating this movie just because I think 20 Days Later was one of those movies that me and you kind of bonded with at first. I don't remember if we saw it together, if we just kind of watched the DVD or passed the DVD back and forth. But yeah, this movie, it definitely hit on a lot of cylinders for me. I think it took a kind of stale genre, like the zombie genre. I know people argue about 28 Days Later being a zombie movie all the time, but at its core, it really is still a zombie movie. So they took this kind of stale genre and did something that felt entirely new with it, and felt like just a movie I wasn't expecting to come out of Danny Boyle. And I know Alex Garland and Danny Boyle have kind of come back together to work on this movie, and I think that that's where a lot of the magic happens.
Yeah, I almost feel like there was no reason to make this movie at this point, but the fact that we got it was stunning. And I couldn't wait for it. The trailers looked great, but I was still ready for that disappointment just because 28 Weeks Later was my most hyped movie of the year when that movie came out. I was so stoked for it just because at that time 28 Days Later was my favorite movie. And I didn't hate that movie necessarily, but just there's a lot wrong with it, and just I was disappointed. And this movie, I was kind of prepared for that and was expecting it to disappoint me, but it really didn't. And I really liked the different directions that they went in. Overall, it's more of an emotional family thriller drama, and that worked so well for me. But still, though, the infected sequences we get, a lot of people are saying there's not enough of it. I thought every 10 to 15 minutes there was just a sequence where I was still holding my breath. I still think none of them captured the level of the one we get the first 30 minutes where the Aaron Taylor Johnson and his son Spike are running across this tide at night. That was the highest level of just intensity within the movie, but there's still moments though that I was still on the edge of my seat. And just it's been a while since I felt that way watching a movie, and I was just so surprised by what this movie brought and just the emotions it gave me, and just I loved it. It's one of my favorites. It probably is my favorite movie of the year, honestly. And yeah, I'm just so stoked that Danny Boyle's back on the map and him and Alex Garland are working together again, just because when they two are put together, magic happens. I like every movie that they've done together.
Yeah, I have to say the first 30 to maybe 45 minutes for me was extremely nauseating. And I don't know if it's because I smashed like a large popcorn before the movie even started in the trailers. But yeah, the butter was just cooking in my stomach. But also I think it was a lot of the filmmaking techniques that they utilize. And Danny Boyle is known for his editing. I think the editing here has been as frantic as ever for him. I know that like, I feel like some films like 127 Hours definitely had crazy editing. So did 20 Days Later. And even Slumdog Millionaire, but I feel like he might have toned it down obviously for Yesterday. But it just feels like he's, you know, the oldest you're the oldest you'll ever be, but he almost feels the sharpest as ever, because this film feels like almost felt like at times something I'd never seen before, the editing used in this movie, and the fact that he's breaking rules left and right. He's breaking that 180 rule constantly. Usually you keep the camera on one side and draw that line and never cross the line in the sand, and it felt like every shot in this movie was, you know, cutting that line, but it didn't feel in a bad way. Usually you don't cross the 180 line because it'll look bad, like it actually looks horrible usually, but for this one it really worked. It almost gave it that frantic style, and I don't know if magic happened in the editing room to really make that work, but it did really work for me. And I don't know if that also is what made me feel so uneasy, so kind of scared in a horror movie of what's gonna happen next, especially when after I came out of this movie, I'm like, all right, it wasn't as bad as I thought it could be, but the whole time watching it I'm wondering like where it's gonna go and how bad it could possibly be.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one thing that a lot of filmmakers always forget about. Like, you know, a lot of people write the scares into the movie and might just use a loud like 808 or thump to kind of scare everyone in the audience, but there's also clever camera tricks you can do to make the audience feel at unease, and a lot of filmmakers are good at that. Tarantino does it in his movies because none of his movies are necessarily horror based, but you know, he's always done that, like with like, you know, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, making you feel that tension with the awkward angles he got during the, you know, the camp Spawn Ranch sequence. I'm just using that as an example, but I'm just saying Boyle just understands that, just like, you know, you don't have to just rely on the infected. Like there's so many uncomfortable shots you can get of them that just make you feel really grossed out and creeped out, and also just with utilization of sound effects properly, like because there isn't necessarily really any jump scares within this movie, but you know, he uses, like Edgar Wright does, I guess, is a great example of just using technical aspects to really bring in that factor of just, you know, making us feel anxious while watching the movie, and that was definitely one of the biggest successes for sure of the movie. And also the music, I really like the different take of music. A lot of people were a little bummed that they didn't hear the In the House theme song, I think that one's called, in the original movie, and it's also in 28 Weeks Later a few times. It's just like those final sequences, that like thumping like build up song, but I really liked the use of bringing back Godspeed Your Black Emperor. That's the name of the band. They did the song that's like during the scene where Jim wakes up from his coma and wandering around London. Bringing that in at the end of the movie was pumping me up, and I just really enjoyed the tonal shift that we got at the end of the movie. I know there's some deeper meanings by what we get without getting into spoilers, but a lot of people aren't fans of that, but I really enjoyed it, just from crying 10 minutes before that scene. You know, I really appreciated just like, what are we going to get into with this next movie?
Oh yeah, and the guy like in my row was going through it. This is a really emotional movie, especially the majority of the movie is very emotional, and I understand people not liking the tonal shift it takes in that last kind of 10-15 minutes, you know, but that didn't bother me at all. I was all for it. I think that Danny Boyle's made the most British commercial film in the past 25 years. It just felt so British, and I know that sounds like okay, but I think once you experience it, and I think like you and I kind of have a rich history when it comes to movies, you know, from the UK, but or viewing those, you know, and it just feels like this movie couldn't have come from anyone else than Danny Boyle. And it's surprising to me that I wouldn't say it's a filmmaker I gave up on, but it was one that I hadn't really thought of recently. And to come out with a film swinging like this, I think some audiences are just kind of lost, but I think that they will come around to a movie like this in time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you know, I like that a movie like this is coming out again, a movie that's dividing audiences. it's not going to be for everyone, but this movie, I'm glad that, like, you know, I was kind of worried when Sony bought the rights and was pushing it out, just because I was like, Sony's going to try to get them to make it a little bit more audience friendly, but that's not the case. Like, they made the movie they wanted to. I assume the second movie that's already been shot is going to be the similar tone. Whether or not we get that third movie, like, you know, you and I were talking earlier, I don't think we'll probably get that third movie, just because I don't know if this movie is going to be a financial success. Like, it had a decent opening weekend. I hope it has the legs too, because I really want to see where the direction goes. But, you know, whether or not we get it or not is just, you know, we'll have to wait and see. But really appreciated that we got something so different from what we were expecting, and something different from just the zombie genre as a whole, just because, you know, 28 Days Later brought back new life into the zombie genre, and then we got the insane zombie craze, and, you know, there's a lot of great stories within that, but just it got oversaturated, and here we are feeling fresh again, and I'm stoked on it.
I will say that this feels like the biggest step that the zombie genre has taken pretty much ever, because it just took such a like an evolutionary leap forward.
Yeah.
And it brought us new things. It did bring us some things we'd seen in other material, i.e. The Last of Us, or maybe certain aspects of The Walking Dead. But I feel like this has taken this huge leap forward that I'm very curious to see where Alex Garland takes this story, because all the bricks were laid perfectly in this first iteration. But I really do hope that we are wrong and we do see this trilogy concluded, because it is kind of hilarious that the original trilogy wasn't concluded, but they decided to make a whole new trilogy, and we might end up back at square one where we only get 2 more movies and we just have this weird franchise. But we'll wait and see, but I hope we're wrong.
Yeah, hopefully it's just popular enough to where even if Sony doesn't decide to fund that third movie, maybe some other studio will. But, you know, I guess we'll find out sometime next year whether or not it gets announced. It's possible maybe it'll get announced this year, but yeah, I'm excited for the Bone Temple. Different director, but I'm expecting still the same vibe, and I'm looking forward to seeing James Cook from Skins playing this leader of the Jimmies, I guess you could say. Sorry for minor spoilers, but yeah, let us know what you thought about 28 Years Later. Was it worth the wait? Is this the first movie you're seeing in the franchise? Let us know in the comments below, because that's a great way to help support the show.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
Oh yeah, and speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, we also got TikTok, and we also have our own personal letterbox accounts. Well, that'll be it for this week, folks. Tune in next week for a brand new video.